Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into some absolutely fascinating research straight from Harvard Health on how we can actually keep our brains young. We're going to look at how to build up what's called your functional reserve to protect your mind as you age. It's super interesting stuff, so let's just get right into it.
Okay, let's kick things off by tackling the elephant in the room, that deep-seated fear we all kind of have about getting older and losing our mental edge. We tend to just look at aging and assume that memory slips or slower processing speeds are a guaranteed part of the package, right? Well, the science tells a totally different and honestly way more hopeful story. To see how we can protect our minds, we'll be covering 6 key areas today. 1. The aging brain's potential. 2. Flexing your mental muscle. 3. Moving and fueling the body. 4. Managing your health numbers. 5. Guarding your emotional well-being. And 6. Building your brain's defenses.
Let's start right off with Section 1, the aging brain's potential. Harvard Health points out something absolutely crucial here. Yes, mental decline is common, and it's one of the most feared consequences of aging. But cognitive impairment is not inevitable. While every single brain changes with age, you actually have a profound amount of control over how well you maintain your mental function. It's not just a roll of the dice. You have real agency here.
Moving right along to Section 2, flexing your mental muscle.
Okay, so this concept of neurological plasticity is literally a game changer. Basically, it's your brain's ability to generate entirely new cells and connections. When you challenge your mind, you're building up a functional reserve. Think of this like a massive retirement savings account, but instead of cash, you're hoarding brain cells as a hedge against future decline. You are quite literally building a thicker, more resilient brain.
So how do we actually make deposits into this brain bank? Well, you can build it through pretty much any activity that requires real mental effort. We're talking about reading, taking a challenging course, or tackling complex math puzzles. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't even have to be strictly academic. Trying manual crafts like drawing or painting works incredibly well too, because it forces those neural pathways to keep firing and wiring together.
All right, Section 3, moving and fueling the body. Exercise isn't just for your biceps or your heart, it is absolutely vital for your brain. When you get moving, you create tiny new blood vessels that pump oxygen-rich blood straight to the thought centers of your brain. It also spurs the development of new nerve cells and increases synapses. Those are the little connections between your brain cells. The result? A brain that's way more efficient, plastic, and adaptable.
And to run that high-performance, adaptable brain, you've got to give it the premium fuel. Research is incredibly clear on this. The Mediterranean diet is a massive win for lowering your risk of cognitive impairment. We are talking lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, fish, nuts, unsaturated oils like olive oil, and plant sources of protein. Good nutrition feeds your mind just as directly as it feeds your muscles.
Which brings us to Section 4, managing your health numbers. Think of your vascular system as the internal superhighway delivering all those awesome Mediterranean diet nutrients straight to your brain. If that highway gets blocked by high LDL, the bad cholesterol, or damaged by high blood pressure and blood sugar spikes, your brain essentially starves. So Step 1, lower blood pressure. Step 2, balance blood sugar. And Step 3, improve cholesterol. Keeping these 3 clinical metrics in check is absolutely non-negotiable for brain health.
Now, a quick medical aside here. On top of eating right and staying lean, you might want to ask your doctor if you're a candidate for low-dose aspirin. Some observational studies actually suggest it might reduce the risk of dementia, particularly vascular dementia. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's a really smart conversation to have with your physician at your next checkup.
Let's dive into Section 5, guarding your emotional well-being.
It is wild how deeply intertwined our mood and our memory really are. If you are anxious, depressed, or just chronically sleep-deprived, you are naturally going to score way worse on cognitive tests. Now, bombing a test because you're exhausted doesn't guarantee you'll get dementia later in life, but if you want your brain firing on all cylinders right now, prioritizing restful sleep and addressing burnout is completely essential.
And this is one of my absolute favorite findings. Your emotional well-being is heavily dependent on your community. Building strong social ties is literally associated with a lower risk of dementia, lower blood pressure, and a longer life expectancy. Hanging out with friends and staying connected isn't just a fun weekend activity, it is a hard neurological necessity.
Finally, Section 6, building your brain's defenses.
We've got to set up some proactive defenses to protect that cognitive reserve we've been building up.
If we look at major risk factors like diabetes or high LDL, the preventative actions are pretty straightforward. Eat right, exercise, and stay lean. But don't overlook head injuries. Even moderate head trauma can increase your risk of cognitive impairment. Simply protecting your head, like wearing a helmet when you bike, is a fundamental physical defense you just cannot ignore.
So, when you lay it all out, it really comes down to a stark contrast between brain boosters and brain drainers. The boosters are things like staying lean, exercising, and sticking to that Mediterranean diet. The drainers? Well, tobacco in all its forms has got to go, for sure. And excessive alcohol is a huge risk factor too. If you do choose to drink, the strict guidance is to limit yourself to a maximum of 2 drinks a day. These are mandatory boundaries for keeping your mind sharp.
To wrap up this explainer, Harvard Health gives us 12 distinct ways to help maintain brain function. But the ultimate takeaway here is incredibly empowering. Cognitive decline is simply not a foregone conclusion. By stimulating your mind, moving your body, managing your clinical numbers, and protecting your emotional health, you are quite literally taking control of your cognitive destiny.